Hi everybody, welcome back to the Chasing Psychological Safety video series. Today we're here to talk to you about resilience. Resilience is one of the key components of psychological safety and one of the components that we look at in our software. So resilience is something that we often look at as an outcome, a long-term output of the work that we do with our teams. We'd like to talk to you about reframing that and putting it at the beginning of the work that you do with your team. So really looking at it intentionally from the beginning and the get-go of the work you do with your teams.
And to do that, maybe the first thing to do is to take a step back and engage your empathy, if you will. Make sure that you remember we need this resilience from a work perspective for the same reasons we need it from a human and personal perspective these days. We are going, all of us, through really challenging times. And the way to get through them on the other side and do so successfully is by being able to stand them and still thrive at the same time, which is essentially the essence of resilience. It's not an easy thing to do. The more we understand that it's difficult for all of us empathically, the more likely we are that we're going to find the ways to crack it.
Yeah, absolutely. And some of the tools that we wanted to talk to you about today begin with some work by a wonderful person who's out there working on resilience as one of the core elements of her work, and that's a lady by the name of Karen Ferris. We encourage you to look at her work on LinkedIn, to follow her work. She has written a book called The Resiliator, so it's all in the title. The entire book is focused on how to build resilience for yourself and for your teams. So step one, have a look at Karen Ferris's work, have a look at her book.
Right. And a lot of the work that's out there is easy to be. Karen's work is very hands-on and very clear in terms of change. Karen comes from a place of understanding agile and being very hands-on in terms of being a change maker. But a lot of the rest of the work feels like it's done at an individual level. And that's slightly confusing, in particular if we're talking about resilience in a work and team sense. We think that resilience is a combination between individual levels of resilience, but also, and more importantly, the way that a team combines them together in a team dynamic. In our view, and how we measure it in our software is we measure for the flexibility of the team and their levels of engagement over time. That's how we measure resilience. But one of those components, as I said, is the way you individually know how to withstand difficulty. And then maybe the most important tool there is to remember that there's a serious body of work in terms of positive psychology and the effects of thinking in a positive fashion, reframing, using all types of information that we're getting from the latest research in terms of neural pathways, in terms of things that we can do very hands-on to increase our mental well-being. And one of the things that I would absolutely encourage everyone to look into, I'm going through it myself, I'm redoing this work myself, is in 2018, I believe, maybe even 2019, thereabouts, so very recently, Yale came together with a course that was aimed towards their students to increase their mental well-being by letting them know what is out there in terms of positive psychology, what tools there are, how they can use gratitude, how they can understand things such as their character strengths. And that's fine. We have people going in and out of our videos all the time. You guys have seen it on the BBC. And so all those tools that you're going to find in the Yale seminar are things that you can use both in your team, and we're discussing this with some teams to adapt it to their team level, and you individually. And I think it's really important that we reach for those things. That's pure science. It's not something that someone in a corner has said in a yoga class. That is literally just the way we find hands-on methodologies to get through these times. So there are tried and tested methods. Don't leave it to we're having a discussion. Start doing the disciplined work of the breathing, the meditation, the savoring, the character strengths, whatever it is that has to come together so that you increase your mental well-being.
Absolutely. And beyond the course and the training, we've also created some tools ourselves, some interventions, and we'd have talked about them before, but we wanted to focus on just one or two of those and re-highlight those for you as part of this video. So the two interventions that we've worked on that we think could work really well as some of that intentional work on resilience are the courage and humor hackathons. So this is courage hackathon, getting your team back together and saying, when have we felt courageous? When have we felt brave? Reminding ourselves of that in order to really refocus in on what resilience we have as a team individually and together. And the humor hackathon. Humor will help you get through the long, dark nights and the long, dark mornings together when times are tough. So a humor hackathon is getting together, bringing your best jokes, bringing your best humor to the table, and it achieves two things. A, you lighten the mood, you have a laugh together, and that creates a sense of bond and team and family. But also, humor is really personal, it's really individual, and understanding that about each other really helps you get to know each other on a deeper level. That builds trust, it builds psychological safety, it builds resilience. So it's much deeper than it sounds. So those are the two interventions from our work so far that we thought we'd re-highlight to you today.
Exactly. And outside of those or inside those, however you wish, maybe one other element to think of is to always have a running commentary in the back of your team mind about the times where you've withstood tremendous difficulty together and you came out the other way. So as long as you statistically can prove that there have been difficult times and you're still together, you're still fighting, some form of a "but did you die" thing that you see on t-shirts of gym goers, as long as you can remind yourself that you have had some terrible moments, but you're still right, then you're probably going to do well. So make sure you incorporate some of those. We have been, by the way, busy filming for the DevOps Enterprise Summit. I think there's still time for you guys to kind of sign in. We're having an entire session on impression management, and I think just talking about the way you stop yourself from doing impression management actually also builds resilience in your team. They're all connected. They're all going to make you have more psychological safety in your team, and that's what you need to make it through these tough times ahead. Thank you so much for listening to us today, and we'll talk to you next week.
Thank you. Bye.